Good morning, Ruth, and fellow foot nerds and the Foot Collective community at large. This is my wrap-up, my final summary report about my experience with the Foot Nerd program, and since that did end a while ago and I've done some other things, I couldn't help but incorporate that in as well. But here we go. So just looking at my notes here. Ruth, you wanted to know what I learned about myself over the course of my foot nerd studies. And as I wrote in my report, the main thing I learned was that I can actually fix myself, heal injuries, or I guess more specifically, restore my foot function, my hips, my body to the way that we were designed to work. And in doing that, the injuries, the chronic issues, the pain, the dysfunction starts to fall away. And I don't know, that's just been so amazing. I just love it. I'm a physical therapist, but it doesn't matter. I learned so much about the body. You learn all the parts, the bones, muscles, ligaments, nerves, blood supply, the neuro, component, how everything works together. But then you move from that to learning, all the different injuries and illnesses and diseases and how that affects your body. And then really it's just about like focusing in on what you can do to fix the symptoms, essentially. It's much harder to be able to get that full grasp on how to really investigate and figure out what caused it in the first place. I mean, some things are obvious, but really I don't recall ever getting back down to the basics, or even learning to begin with the true purpose of, our feet and what they're there to do for us and how they're connected to the rest of the body. So anyway, that's been like the most important, most enlightening thing that I've learned. And it's just awesome. So my daily practices, I usually start, what I like to say is my daily movement starts the minute I wake up. And I'm still, supine, laying on my back or side or whatever. So then I start to like wiggle my toes and spread them out if I can, move my ankles. I'll even like windshield wipe my knees. I'll put them in a bent position with my feet flat, and just get my hips rotating and my low back rotating. And sometimes I'll throw my legs over to one side and my arm over to the other to get a nice twist right up the spine, and it just feels really good. So that could be just a matter of a minute, but it just feels good to do that before I actually get up. And then usually what I do is I'll stand a little bit while I'm drinking coffee, doing some initial work on the computer, and I try to keep the soulmate, or usually it's the soulmate, because I can more easily just bring that with me into the kitchen and drop it on the ground. So I'll stand on that instead of the flat ground, barefoot of course. And then I've been able to create a little bit of a ground living practice. So I'll spend I do that throughout the day, but in my concentrated work day, because I am sort of in a traditional desk job, I will sit on the ground at home. I'll start my day at home for the first few hours, and I'll spend most of that on the ground. And of course, as we all know now, sitting in, even if you could tolerate easily cross-legged position, it's not gonna be comfortable for very long. So then you switch and you just move through all these different positions. And of course I have to get back up to get more coffee, so I'm up and down and I have movement that way. So it's really good. So I used to spend a few minutes here and there on the ground, but now I'll spend the first hour or more just doing my work at home from the ground. And then later in the day, like when I get home in the evening, that's when I'll spend some more time, specifically focusing on whatever area I want to work on, footwork, rolling out my feet more, trying to splay my toes, spreading my toes with the toe spreaders, whatever it is I'm working on. The 90-90 sort of closed hip position, stretch out those hips, squat, whatever. Get down on the ground, play with the dogs. Instead of maybe getting up from being on the ground to go get something that's a little bit further away, I'll crawl so I just try to incorporate all of those movements. So that's my daily practice. And, when I go outside, I do go outside often. I'm barefoot in the house almost always. And when I go outside, I try to be barefoot. I'm not always barefoot, but I do it a lot more than I ever used to. So with my foot nerd training, what I'm hoping to do is continue to participate in the foot collective community, contribute, where I can, and just continue to learn. There's so much to learn. And I love teaching. I love helping people. So whatever I know from my experience as a physical therapist, as well as this, I love to be able to, turn around and kind of help somebody along the way, as well as starting to reach out and help people in my community or friends, family. I'm pretty careful not to offer explanation unless I'm asked, but people do ask more and more because they can see that I'm changing the footwear that I'm using, that I'm on the ground more, that I'm barefoot more, all that stuff. So the topic does come up, and I use that opportunity to give a little insight into how it's helped me. And, I would love to put some sort of a class or something on for community members and incorporate this. So whatever it is I'm doing, like currently as a physical therapist, one of my main focuses is a fall prevention program for the community. And it's great, it's effective, but it's kind of boring. So I would love to be able to bring play into that more play. I would love to be able to create, an obstacle course, if you will, in the community, maybe at a local park, on the local trails, and take people out, and move through that in a playful way with either minimal footwear or barefoot, just incorporate everything I've learned here into that and just have fun while I'm doing it. Ultimately, that's what I'd love to do. But I do love to teach, whether it's outside in that community or through the foot community as well, just, collaborating and discussing. And then the next question you asked me, Ruth, is how did I celebrate, or do I, or will I? So celebrating is, something I need to work on outwardly. But I have talked a lot, even just with the people who are close to me about, and especially my husband, just how much better it feels to feel like I'm in control of being able to help myself or him or anybody else. Like all those pieces of information that I learned through physical therapy school, I still felt like something was missing. Like I knew I was just really treating the symptoms, even though I knew to look broader, I just still wasn't able to put it all together. And I feel like all those puzzle pieces fit now. I feel so much more confident in advice I give to him, to myself, to anybody. And it's such a joyful feeling. It's just relieved such a heavy layer of kind of feeling badly about, like if somebody asked me a question about how do I fix this is going on, and I wouldn't really ever know with certainty like what to tell them to do. I mean, some things, but I always felt like I can give them some guidance for sure, but I didn't know if that was going to fix it. And that felt bad because I went to PT school. I've been a PT for 20 years, and so I didn't like that feeling. And so the feeling, I sort of have this sort of little, celebration of joy inside internally that just is such a light feeling, and it makes me smile because it feels so good to feel like I'm on the right track finally, and to be able to take everything I know and have it start to integrate together and make sense. So yes, I need to work on the outward celebration, but that inward celebration feels really good. Okay, and I think the last thing is like, what would I suggest to improve the program? I don't know, that's a tough one. I mean, I love the current platform, Kajabi over Slack. Slack was great, but it was hard to go back and find things, and so many good nuggets of information, but then they just were kind of lost, in older and older posts. So, and the program itself, when it switched from the Foot Nerd, although that was far more structured than like the year-long program, this program, like the challenges now that are out there in the foot community, they're just right up my alley. They're structured, organized. It's very clear what you need to do to be able to meet the challenge for that day. I love the collaboration with each other, being able to comment on someone else's challenge or have them comment on mine, and then the Zoom meetings where we can talk about things more regularly. It's all, I love that. So really the only things I think of tend to fall into like the techie category of just so the way it kind of runs a little more smoothly, being able to maybe go back and find a thread of comments that you want to go back and refer to. It's kind of hard to remember what post those comments were on, so then you have to like search that way. It seems not as efficient as it could be. But and the other thing is, really selfishly, I just wish there were more TFC play shops, you know, like Australia team has done, and I know there's one coming up in Florida. I wish so badly I could go to it, because the meetups, the shoes optional stroll, I love those too, but so I would love to see more of those, and maybe I'll have to start one. There must be people in my area, but the play shops, oh, that would be just so wonderful to have more of those, like popped all throughout, you know, a little more frequently in more places. But I know that's probably in the works and on the way, but that'll be a little slower. But I really don't have many issues at all. It's just all been a great experience, and I love it, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. So double thumbs up, and if I could stick my big toes up in the air to give a toe thumbs up, I would. All right, bye.